Hey everyone, this is Braden Smith, and I chose to do my presentation on the United States war in Afghanistan. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. So the Taliban is an Islamic fundamentalist political movement in Afghanistan. And in that movement, they overtook southern Afghanistan and established Kandahar as their capital. And in their rulings as a new government, they ruled very strictly and violently on enforcing the Sharia law. Al-Qaeda is a global militant Islamist organization, and it was founded by Osama bin Laden, who is pictured here, between 1988 and 1989, sometime within those 2 years. And Al-Qaeda is recognized and designated as a terrorist organization, a worldwide terrorist organization, by the United Nations Security Council, by NATO, by the European Union, and the United Kingdom, and also the United States. So, on September 27th of 1996, the Taliban seized the Afghan capital, Kabul, and established the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, which is, you can see here, the yellow outline shows the territory that they had taken from the original Afghan government. The Islamic State of Afghanistan, which is pictured up here, fell into the northern part of Afghanistan. And then these two nations here, the Masoud's territory and the Dostum's, territories, and the Dostum's territories, united to create what was called either the Northern Alliance or the Northern Front, and that was united against the Taliban. However, Al-Qaeda supported the Taliban, and with tens of thousands of troops, they helped them fight against the Northern Front. And in fact, only 15,000 of the 45,000 troops were actually Taliban warriors. So the Al-Qaeda had provided 30,000 people from around the world to assist them. Then we all know about 9/11. On September 11th of 2001, 19 hijackers flew 2 airplanes into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, and also one into the Pentagon. Nearly 3,000 people died in that event, and the United States accused Al-Qaeda for this attack. So, in their response, they made several demands of the Taliban. They went to the Taliban instead of Al-Qaeda. They said that they demanded that the Taliban hand over bin Laden, and also that they provide all intelligence that they knew on bin Laden and his affiliates. And last of all, that they expel all Al-Qaeda terrorists from Afghanistan to prevent any other further issues. George W. Bush said they will hand over the terrorists or they will share in their fate, meaning that the United States declared war on terror, and they were going to include the Taliban in that war if they did not hand over the terrorists. Well, the Taliban response was not quite as the United States had hoped. Zaif, the Afghan ambassador to Pakistan, pictured here up in the left, said that the Taliban were ready to wage war with the United States rather than to submit to the United States' demand. They also explained that they were completely ready for that war and prepared. And the Taliban recommended, not very enthusiastically, but lightly recommended that bin Laden leave the country. But they blatantly refused to turn him over, as the United States had requested. So, therefore, we sent troops into Afghanistan, and that is how the war in Afghanistan came about. Its purpose was to dismantle Al-Qaeda, overthrow the Taliban, reestablish Northern Afghan Alliance as legitimate government, and to keep peace there in Afghanistan. And since 9/11, over 2 million troops have been deployed to Afghanistan. Not meaning that there are 2 million continuously there, but 2 million troops have been deployed. 793,000 of those troops have been deployed more than once. It's been a very major war in the last decade or so. And unfortunately, as with every war, there are casualties and major expenditures. The NATO combined nations who have intervened in Afghanistan have experienced 3,291 deaths collectively. They've also experienced 23,500 at least wounded. The Afghan contractors who had been assisting the United States from the Northern Front or the northernmost part of Afghanistan, they have experienced 1,143 deaths and 1,500 plus wounded. And last of all, the Afghan military from the Northern Front have unfortunately lost over 10,000 people, which totals up to nearly 15,000 deaths in these past 10 years. The United States expenditures are an enormous number. $624,935,940,000. So it's been an extremely costly war, and we've lost many lives because of it. Alright, that is my presentation. Thank you all for listening, and here are all of my sources.